God, thank you for this day. Thank you for this beautiful Friday morning. Thank you for letting all of our feet hit the ground this morning and for making it to this house safely. God, thank you for letting Josh take the time out of his day to come chop it up with the boys. I pray that you'll be with us, be with this conversation that we're having. I pray your Holy Spirit will dwell in this room, that you'll be with us, you'll be with the equipment, you'll be with the cameras, you'll be with the audio, and that you'll be with us with wherever we go and with whatever we do throughout the rest of our day. It's in your holy name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We are sitting here in the studio today with Mr. Josh Phillips, also known as one of the Nashville's finest bodyguards. You can find him down on Broadway, or before he had songs on the radio, you could find him down on Broadway, and he'd be throwing people out. But
not because I worked there.
yeah.
I was just drunk.
Yeah, he was just mean. But yeah, man, we're super happy to have you in here. And today, I feel like last night we had a guest on the podcast, and he was talking about a deer that he shot last year that he had not seen since. And while we were sitting in the podcast, he got a trail camera picture of the buck that he shot showing back up during the podcast. And then today, we got Josh coming in here, and you had a song come out today.
I did.
And you want to tell us about it a little bit?
Yeah, it's a song called Dirty Money. Brantley Gilbert cut it with Justin Moore. Me and Brantley wrote it. Man, it's probably been like 2 years ago, dude. And just a song about farming and, the play on words with dirty money, getting your hands dirty, that kind of thing. And dude, he crushed it. Brock Berryhill produced it. You know Brock. Y'all know Brock. He's amazing. And yeah, just super stoked to have it out.
Sounds good.
Sounds really
Thanks,
good.
y'all.
Thank
you.
We'll play a little clip it right here.
Come on.
If they'll let us.
Cue it up.
Before we jump into everything, dude, I just want to say that for those of y'all listening, this is actually our second podcast with you. And I just want to say thanks for coming back and doing this again. I know a lot of it was because y'all were chopping it up and there was some stuff we wanted to dive deeper on. Yeah. But I know he also told you about the audio problems. Yeah. And I think it just says a lot about who you are as a person, that you're like down to come do this. I can't explain to you, seriously, dude, how sick to my stomach and stressed out I was.
It's all good,
for the whole until 2 o'clock in the morning when he was texting me like, "Hey, we might be able to do this again." And I was like, "Oh, thank God." But anyways, thank you for coming back and doing this again.
Thank y'all for having me, man. Yeah. I mean, really thank y'all for standing for what you stand for and doing this. I think it's really cool. So I'm here anytime.
Well, hell. Let's get into some of these cuts that you got. And Josh Phillips has written a lot of songs in town. He writes like twice a day and has been writing twice a day for
too long.
But hey, it's paying off.
Yeah.
If y'all don't know this man, like I said, he's a songwriter, and he has cuts by Luke Combs, Jason Aldean, a lot of Brantley Gilbert cuts. Let's see, Chris Young, your biggest cut to date, Dirt Roads for Days.
That's right.
By Tyler Chambers.
That's right.
And then some guy named Cody Johnson cut a song named Dirt Cheap that I don't know if anybody knows, but
Probably not.
I think it's on the radio or something right now. It's at number 4. But yeah, man, we appreciate you coming back, and I feel like this time around we might have our wits about us just a little bit better. I don't know. I'm stumbling over my words right now.
Drink that coffee fast.
I'm making anybody's cookie or not.
Yeah, right.
I'm so glad you brought it up, dude. I was trying to figure out if I was going to bring it up. And I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to, because, dude, I still edited the whole episode anyways. Yeah. And when I got to that part of it, I was sitting in a hotel room in Knoxville. Dude, it turned my sadness around.
You have to keep that clip.
Oh, we're putting it in right here.
Have to.
I've baked this guy's cookie. I've baked this guy's cookie.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
That sounds very interesting.
I've never heard that analogy before.
I baked this guy's cookie. That's the name of this podcast, right? This episode is I baked this guy's cookie.
Dude, I sent him a video of it. He FaceTimed and he was like, I hate this. I don't want this in there. He was like, is it? I was like, dude, it's so funny. It has to stay in here. He was like, if it's really that funny, we can keep it.
It's funny.
Dude, I thought about that for a long time. I'm not going to lie.
So I didn't want to bring it up, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
That's what you get for starting a podcast. Never been the sharpest crayon.
We had problems with that neighbor again yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
With another guest.
Yeah, we had a preacher on here, and the preacher was threatening to whip his ass. Really? Yeah. He was like, "I love the Lord, but I got a half a mind to go over there and knock on his door and whoop his ass."
God, sometimes you got to go in the temple and flip tables.
That's
man.
right. I was like, "Hey, man,
That
better
keeps
you
coming
than
up,
me."
too.
Come
That
on.
does.
That's the third. We talked about that twice with two different people yesterday.
Really?
About Jesus. And the whole story of Jesus is like, in the church, a lot of the times it's watered down.
Oh,
It's just
dude,
lovey-dovey. It's okay. You know, nah, that man was not all just lovey-dovey.
No, it was a very righteous anger. You know, he wasn't just flipping tables to flip tables.
No.
But righteous anger, I think, is a just thing. We are called to love, but I think righteous anger is okay
Yeah,
for sure.
I get mad sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. I mean,
We all do.
I was talking to Jason about it at lunch yesterday. I was like, man, sometimes I just have a temper, and I try to get my hands around it sometimes, but you know, I don't know if it's sinful, if it's like okay to be angry. I don't think that maybe the ways that I get angry sometimes is necessarily what the Lord wants, but He told me that emotion and anger is from the Lord. He's like, it's okay to be angry. It's just like if you're doing it in a way that's, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's what
I
do you
didn't
think?
flip
What do
tables.
you do with it?
Yeah, I didn't
What
flip
are
a
you gonna
table
do
at
with the
Cracker
anger
Barrel,
that
but
you have? Yeah, right.
hey, Jesus did.
Give me my biscuits.
But anyways, yeah, so me and Josh have known each other for a while, and Jasper and Josh have been acquainted for
A week.
now, so we
dude.
safe to say we know each other. But Josh and I have done everything from build guns to write songs to drink a lot of alcohol, talk about hunting,
Yeah.
listen to songs. I've probably called Josh about probably more than most people when I need advice here. And safe to say, he's just been a good buddy to me. And yeah, man, I appreciate you. So you want to kind of walk us through your move to Nashville and, you know, where you're from, what you did growing up, and baseball, all that stuff.
Yeah, dude. I started playing baseball at a really young age. My dad was really good at baseball. And so I think it was him a little bit living vicariously through me, and also just, you know, wanting me to love baseball too. I started playing super young. I think, you know, from the time I could hold a ball, he had one in my hands. And played rec ball for a little bit, and then I was just that just became easy, I guess. And so we started playing showcase ball, and then started playing on like national travel teams, and then I went to like a Braves tryout camp when I was 14 or 15 and met the head scout, who was Billy Best. My grades were terrible in high school. So it was like every D1 college that I taught to, they couldn't sign me or offer me because my grades were so bad. And so Billy Best, the scout for the Braves, he was like, man, go to junior college for a couple years, play, you know, a season or two, and hopefully we can draft you higher. And that was the plan my whole life. I never had a guitar in my hand, never wrote a song, never, you know, made a word rhyme. It wasn't anything to do with music. And went to college, got hurt, tore my meniscus in this knee twice. And a girl I was dating had a guitar in her closet, and I was like, hey, can I take that home? And just kind of, I guess that was my therapy. Just kind of write down what I'm going through, I guess. And a couple of my like biker buddies up there, they had a little bar down in Farmville, North Carolina called Poorhouse that they went to. The girl that ran it, her name was Liz. She was like, I'll pay you, Lord, I think it was like $250 to come play for 3 hours, cover songs. And I would sneak in a really bad original somewhere in there, in between about 4 cover songs. And so I started doing that. She talked to other bar owners. They would let me just go play acoustic. And I met a guy on Twitter. He messaged me he was doing the same thing in Boone. His name's Luke Combs. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Here, let me pick that up.
Yeah. But no, it's part of my story. So Luke was literally, you know, he wasn't even even in Nashville at all. He was literally just playing bars acoustic. And he was like, man, we should write some songs, da-da-da-da. And so I put a band together. We played like a battle of the bands in my hometown. Somehow won. We were playing little bitty shows. Luke came and opened for us. That's my claim to fame. Is at one point Luke opened for us, and then Luke moved. We just started writing together. Luke moved to Nashville, and cut a song I wrote called "Can I Get an Outlaw?" I had no idea you could make any money as a songwriter
until it gets 75 million streams on it.
On Spotify by itself,
yeah, and
not on the radio.
Yeah, so we were just writing, and he was like, man, you need to move to Nashville. So it took me about a year. I would come up 1 week out of every month and just kind of network and just meet people, sleep on Luke's couch or in his guest bedroom. And then one day, I think it was February 15th of 2015 or 14th of 2015, I just packed up and I was like, I'm doing it. And so I drove about 3 hours down the road, turned around and said, I'll never make it. This is stupid. Went back home. And then the next day I actually left.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that's different.
Almost failure to launch.
Yeah, almost failure to launch, man. The next day I mustered up the courage and finally actually left. And
you ever thought about if you wouldn't have turned back around? Like if you wouldn't have woke up the next day and been like, never mind, I'm doing this.
Yeah, it's crazy how God works. I think I'd probably be cutting grass somewhere without as much anxiety.
Yeah.
Probably so.
There is this town, there's something in the water that just, man, it's a concoction of anxiety at times.
Well, yeah, it's the constant want to succeed and be able to make that Instagram post. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is, man. There's so much validation that we seek on a day-to-day basis. It's hard. It's a drug, man. I mean,
for sure.
Anybody here, I don't care if you're a pastor, if you've been writing songs for 25 years in Nashville, anybody here would be lying if they said it doesn't feel good to go home and people be like, hey, man, we're proud of you. They're like,
well, no one, it's like we've said it a million times, no one's writing songs so that no one hears them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one's playing a gig so that no one shows up and says, you did a great job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No one wants to move up here to be broke and never sell out Nissan Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah, it is that, man. It's like, and that's where I think it gets tough, because we talked about it last time, to like find God within it. Because I think a lot of us ultimately do sometimes make chasing that our God, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's like a drug.
I've done it. I feel like I've spent more time in Nashville treating my career as an idol than actually idolizing the Lord.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a hard and humbling switch, but it's like, what are you putting on the throne of your heart? You know, something worldly or something eternal, and you can see the worldly things. You can't see. You can't see eternity.
Yeah. So
it's just that old switcheroo, as my buddy Colton Venner likes to say. But yeah, dude, that's I'm glad that you tore your meniscus.
Yeah, I guess I am too. Yeah.
I read this, and I don't know if this is true or not, or if you even know it. There's a stat out there about you that's like, you were one of the youngest to get scouted by the Braves.
Yeah. That's
pretty sick.
Yeah, I was 15 when I got invited to that camp.
Were you this big?
Dude, I was a pretty big kid. I was like, I graduated, let's say, I'm 6'4", like 230 now, 235. When I graduated, I was like 215, 6'3", 215. So not that much smaller.
You know, I don't know if you asked him this last time, but I think on our original notes, there was a question on there that was like, to you from him, that was like, do you think you could be, in it said us, including me and him, it said, do you think you could be us in an arm wrestling contest? And I read the note and I was like, take the us out of that. I'm not doing that. You can give it your best shot, buddy. I'm good.
Yeah, we'll do it off camera, and we'll let people know what happens.
Yeah, off camera, I won. Dude.
Spoiler alert, they win.
Yeah. No, we're gonna have to use each other's arms at the same time, bro.
Yeah. Well, dude, yeah, that's it's crazy how like there's so many stories that are similar, at least that we're finding, where with athletes and you know, injuries or just freak things where people end up moving to Nashville on like kind of not a whim, but A whim.
It's definitely a whim.
Yeah. Like I guess it is because I know I did.
Yeah, dude. I think the common denominator with that is like the same personality that works as an athlete works in Nashville. If that makes sense.
No, for sure.
I never thought about
It's
that.
like there's a little bit of I don't want to call it narcissism, but you have to go, the rest of the world wants to hear what I have to say, which is kind of narcissistic.
And I don't care if they don't.
I'm going to
also.
keep doing it
Right.
until they do. It's that thing.
It's like a healthy amount, sometimes unhealthy, but to do it is a healthy amount of self-delusion in a good way.
Yeah.
We've talked about that a lot. We're like, you kind of have to be the one, like in your head, you can see it and you believe it, even if everyone around you is like, oh, dude, this guy's crazy.
For sure.
You're just like, just wait, just watch. I know, I see it.
Yeah. Eventually it's going to work.
Give me 10 years. Give me 10 years and I'll figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah, I got 2 more on my list to get through. 2 more years before I can hopefully say that.
And you've been here how long?
Math is hard. 9 years.
9 years. You said February? Wait.
February.
February was 9 years. Okay, so what would you tell somebody moving here or that's been here 9 years that might not have written a dirt cheap yet or yet?
Shoot, man, find your crew. That's the biggest thing, honestly. Find your crew and like just keep writing, man. I think, and we talked about this too. I think if you're chasing hits, you're probably never going to get a hit. Just write what you love. And then eventually hits come out of that. I think Hardy said this, and he was like, "Man, I just kept writing what I knew how to write, you know." And they wound up being hits, man. I think that's all you can do. It's like with anything, just do what you're good at and keep doing it and don't stop.
Do you know how long you were in town before you signed your pub deal?
Yeah, not long, man, because of moving with the Luke stuff. And he was blowing up with Hurricane. I think I was here. I moved in 2015. I signed my publishing deal in 2016 and my record deal in early 2017.
Do you remember your first major label cut outside of Luke?
Brantley, Gilbert.
What was
it? It was, man, Bad Boy. It was Bad Boy and Tough Town. They were on the same record.
What record? What year
Song
was that?
sick.
That would have been, oh man, was it the Fire and Brimstone record? I think.
I feel like it was. It was
think
like
so.
2017 or 18, right?
Yeah, it was. I think it was early 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song. Bad boy.
Yeah, dude.
Song's good.
Thanks, man.
You were talking about playing originals every now and then. You'd mix one in when you were doing covers.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the first song you wrote?
I
back
do,
then?
and it was so bad, dude. So the girl that had the guitar in her closet, we broke up, and I went home for Thanksgiving break, and I wrote, this is actually part of what got me to Nashville. I should have mentioned this. I wrote this song called Blessings. It's so bad. If you go on YouTube, you can probably find it, though.
Jamie.
It's somewhere
Jamie,
on YouTube.
pull it up.
But it's called Blessings, and I sent it. I did the douchey boyfriend thing. I recorded it. It was the first time I'd ever recorded myself singing with my phone and sent it to her to try to get her back, and it worked. And it was just really bad. But anyhow, so when I got back to Greenville, which is where I went to college, she knew that I had been writing, and she was like, I'm going to put this Blessing song up on YouTube, because at that point I just sent her the video. And she said if it gets, I think it was like 5,000 views in 24 hours, then you have to go record an EP of all these songs that you've been writing. And I was like, well, first off, it's never going to get 5,000 views. And secondly, I'm not going to record a record because I'm not moving to Nashville. I'm just doing this for fun. And then it got like 20,000 views in 24 hours. And so I went, recorded an EP that was god-awful.
Did you have sleeves on in the video?
I think so.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, dude. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is.
It's called Blessings, though. The hook was like, when I lay my head down at night, when I count my blessings, the first one is you, or something like that. Terrible.
Just a dog, man.
Yeah,
Wreaking
dude.
havoc on North Carolina women.
Just,
How old were you when you moved?
math again, 22. Yeah,
Gotcha.
22.
I was 21. I feel like that's also a similar.
I was 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I had moved earlier.
You
For
did?
sure. I do.
For what reason?
Man, I mean, hindsight being 2020, it's like baseball wasn't going to work. So it's like I wish I had moved sooner just because it would have gave me a head start. And I don't think I would have wasted so much time trying to be an artist.
I don't feel like that was wasted time, though.
No, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you wouldn't be who you are right now if you would have done that any differently at all.
True, yeah. I just think, because it's like, man, I've only really been a writer for 4 years, just a writer.
Do you kind of feel like you're like, oh gosh, what could have been if I was just a songwriter for those years that I was an artist or at Big Machine or something?
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's a double-edged sword because, like, a lot of those artist rooms that I got in, like with Josh Thompson and Rodney Clawson, Singleton and Randy Montana, and all those dudes that I respected so much, the reason why I got to write with them when I got out of my record deal is because I got in with them in the first place as an artist, and they respected me as a writer.
Yeah.
So I do think God has a funny way of going, this is part of your path, but it was 6 years where I could have been writing every day rather than, touring and writing twice a week.
Yeah. Dude, Josh Thompson's one of my heroes.
Yeah, he's great.
Randy was too. That's a blessing.
Same. He was definitely one of my heroes.
Yeah. He's been good to me for sure, but
such a good dude.
Yeah, dude. Let's you want to just kind of dive into, you said you wish you would have been here earlier to figure some stuff out. I personally feel like if I'd have been here earlier, I might be in a pine box.
Yeah,
but
I'm the opposite. I kind of wish I would have went later.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I went to college though at MTSU. Like that was the deal.
Yeah.
For me to come up here, but like same kind of thing. It's like knowing what I know now in my mental state and the decisions that I made early age moving up here. I wish I'd have been a little bit more mature maybe.
Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't even know. I probably would have done the same thing. I'd have moved up here at 22, 3, 4, and I'd have made all those decisions just to find out I shouldn't have made them in the first place.
Yeah, there's something about like the ignorance and blissful like blindness that you have for the world at that age that you probably like right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't move.
Yeah, good
I
point.
probably wouldn't either.
Yeah, good point. And I don't regret it. I mean, like my first whiskey jam, I went in there with a fake ID. And I remember I walked in there and I was 19 years old and Dustin Lynch was sitting there with his cowboy hat on drinking a beer. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in Nashville and Dustin Lynch is sitting at the bar, like, just
You're
freaking
like texting all your buddies back
I'm like
home.
texting my mom and I'm like, the next thing I'm like, I got a picture with Kane Brown or like whatever at this CMA event. Anyways, so yeah, maybe I take all that back. It was worth it.
Yeah, dude.
Well, dude, let's dive in to all them vodka Red Bulls we used to drink sitting around fire out in Ashland City.
Yeah, dude.
How you've come a long way since then. What's going on with you,
No
man?
more vodka Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Just Red Bull.
Yeah, no more vodka, period. Man, it was a lot of vodka and a little bit of Red Bull, you know? Yeah, I've been sober. I'll be sober 4 years in December.
Let's go.
Congrats, bro.
Thanks, buddy. God just, made himself really, really obvious to me about 4 years ago. Yeah, we can dive down that whole rabbit hole.
How was he making himself obvious?
Dude.
What was that?
Man, I would say, dude, I'll start from the kind of beginning of where it got bad, if that's okay.
Please.
This is your story, dog. Let's run it.
Yeah, dude. So, college baseball being took from me, it was like the only thing, baseball was my whole plan, as we've talked about. And so that was kind of where it started. It was like I didn't have baseball anymore. And so I guess rather than turning to God, what did I turn to? The bottle of Evan Williams that was in my apartment.
Do you feel like you knew better?
Do I feel like I knew better?
Yeah. Or do you feel like it was gradual?
I think it was gradual, man. And it was kind of one of those things, the ignorance thing too. Like there was a cool aspect to me at that point, which just sounds so bad, but like I was the cool guy. Like I would get up and I would take a shot and it was cool, and I liked being the cool guy. And so it was like, in the morning, some mornings, not every morning, I would just, like if I had buddies or somebody I wanted to show off for, I'd rip a shot in the morning and freaking go about my day to class if I went to class. And then we would go to the bar. So this starting to drink every day thing started, 19, 20 years old. And then obviously with when I started playing shows, it was Like, dude, I don't know about y'all, but I still get nervous playing shows.
Same.
And so, what's an easy way to not be nervous? Drinking.
Throw a little whiskey on it.
Throw a little whiskey on it or vodka or whatever. And so, yeah, that's what I would do. I would drink then, and it was just like I wasn't dealing with the fact that I was sad because I had lost baseball. It's inevitable. I was definitely sad. And so, moved to Nashville. As we know, Nashville's it's accepted to socially drink with your breakfast.
It's more than accepted. It's like not accepted if you don't.
It's encouraged.
Yeah, you're the weird guy if you're not drinking with your freaking sausage biscuit at the Virgin breakfast place in the morning, you know? And so that, and then I think I was just getting around like mid-20s right before we found out that Jordan, my wife, was pregnant with our firstborn, Hunter. I was just kind of like in this spot of like I didn't know what to do.
She wasn't your wife then?
She wasn't my wife then, no. I didn't know what to do with my career. You know, I was touring. I was an artist. I wasn't happy being an artist. But I also didn't have any cuts. So it was like I can't just quit being an artist to go be a songwriter. And I wanted to be a songwriter, but again, I didn't have anything going for me. And so, you know, the drinking started more, I guess, there, but it was also just fun. You've been to my house when we were doing that. It was a blast.
I slept in the back of your truck one night.
I actually saved his life one night. Wasn't it you that
night?
Fell asleep in your truck when it was like 30 degrees outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. We'll talk about that later. But,
I forgot about that. It was my truck.
Dude. Yeah, it was your truck, and I couldn't find you for like, dude, we have to tell this story.
Okay. I don't remember really.
We're drinking. It's like sub 32 degrees outside, freezing cold. We're out in the shop, and Chambers goes missing for like an hour and a half. And I'm like, you know, drunk me, I'm like, wait a second. It just dawned on me that Chambers is missing. And it's freaking cold outside. And so I go outside, dude. I'm looking everywhere for him. And I even go in the house, go upstairs. He's not in the house. I'm like, where's he at, dude? And so I go out to his truck. The truck's not running, and he's in it just like balled up in the back seat asleep. And so I'm like, dude, he's going to freeze. So I open the door and grab you.
You picked me up?
I carried you in the building and laid you on the couch.
Oh, God, that's sad.
No, dude, you were just passed out.
That's a good friend, dude.
Dang.
Yeah.
I didn't even, that's the thing, dude. I'm glad you said that. I didn't even know.
Well, now you can say thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't even know that. That just sheds a light on myself too. That I didn't even realize how bad I was doing. You know.
Well, it was probably my fault because I was probably feeding you vodka Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
vodka
man.
Rebel.
Yeah, man. It's your fault that I drank. I put alcohol in my body.
Yeah.
No, dude. Well, golly, we've come a long way.
Long way, dude. That was a great little side road there, but no. So then Jordan and I, my now wife, had been dating like. I was 25. We had been dating like 5 months, dude. And I'm on the way to Pamlico Sound in North Carolina to go duck hunting. I was buying my license at Siler City, North Carolina, Walmart. And she calls me. And I was like, hey, what's up? She said, you got a second? And I was like, yeah, I could tell something was wrong. I said, let me get my license and I'll call you right back. And so I got my license and I walked outside and she goes, I'm pregnant. And I said, okay. I said, well, we didn't live together at the time. I said, well, I don't agree with abortion. However, you are carrying the child. I'll leave that up to you. I'm just letting you know where I stand as far as I stand. Like, we're going to raise this kid, and it's going to be, you know, ours and, you know, so on and so forth. And she said, well, I don't either. I said, well, I'm going to duck hunt for the next 3 days. When I get back, we'll move you in. And that was kind of the whole thing. And so,
boss,
we got back, and dude, I mean, maybe I said it like a boss. I did not feel like a boss. I felt like my life was just like falling apart.
Well, I mean, you accepted the responsibility immediately.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So we get back, we move her in, dude. And that was where like, that was where I think it got bad, because it was like, I only knew her for 5 months. I loved her, but I didn't know she's going to listen to this. So I loved her, but I had no idea at that moment in time if it was 5 months, if that was the girl that I was going to be with for the rest of my life, you know? But I knew I had to figure it out. And so the drinking just kind of started there, but it also just evolved with, I wasn't the man that she needed me to be. I was still being the crappy person that I was, who I'm not proud that I ever was on the road. And she wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. We were just kind of fighting all the time. We knew that we loved each other, but that was about the extent of it. And so my drinking just progressed and progressed. And about the time we had Hunter, this child, my conscience, I guess, started to kick in. It was like, dude, if something happened to her and I had to rush her to the hospital at midnight, could I? Well, no, because I'm hammered on the couch. And so I was drinking all night, dude. I'd wake up in the morning at about 4 a.m. My body would get rid of the alcohol. I would start shaking. I'd go in there. I'd make a shot, go back to sleep till about 7:30. And then I would just rinse and repeat all day, every day. Very functioning, though, because you were riding with me. You know, it was like nobody knew. I could put vodka in my Gatorade and nobody could tell the difference. And so randomly I had this guy, he was my 8th grade baseball coach, Chuck Grooms. He'll actually be at my listening room show tonight, which is really cool. He would reach out to me. I hadn't talked to him in 15 years, man, and he would text me and be like, praying for you. Just wanted to let you know God's laid you on my heart. And this happened for like a year, dude. And I would never really respond. And then one day I go on this hunting trip to West Tennessee to Jay Klein. You know Jay Klein, right? To Jay Klein's like pheasant quail place out there. I was with him and Colt Prince, and I lied to both of them, which made me feel terrible. But there wasn't a whole lot of alcohol there, and I was just starting to feel it. And I lied to both of them and told them I had to go back early. So I go back early, and I was just in it, man. I was like crying on my way home. I felt terrible. I had super bad anxiety. And I just remember going, God, I don't know what you want me to do with my life, but I know it's not this. And I was like, whatever it is, can you just make it obvious to me? And I said, you know what? Better yet, give me a sign. If Chuck Grooms texts me within the next 10 minutes, I'll respond to him and I'll quit drinking. And dude, I kid you not, I get that out of my mouth and my phone's on the center console and it goes bzz, bzz. And I looked at it and it said Coach Grooms on it. And he wrote me this long text, man. And it said, basically, I'll stop bothering you. Obviously, you don't want to talk to me. I just want you to know that I love you and I'm praying for you. And God's just really laid you on my heart. And I called him. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. I told him the story. I said, I don't know how I'm going to get sober, but I'm going to figure it out. Do you have devotional recommendations for me and all that stuff? And so it was at that moment, I thought I was a Christian my whole life, but it was at that moment where I went, God, it's yours from here on, where I truly surrendered, I think. And that was December 16th of 2020. Yeah. And yeah, Jordan was out of town. She was in Georgia. And she got back the next day. So the 16th, I'm just in bed going through it, dude. I hadn't had a drink all day.
What is that like?
The worst experience of my life. Just constant anxiety, shaking, just no will to do anything. Like I just laid in bed and was kind of in and out of sleep. So she got back the next day and I was like, hey, we're going back to my mom and dad's. I'm going to go through this in front of my parents who've never drank. I wanted to be in the most humiliating place for me to withdraw, if that makes sense. Just to go through it and know that I would never do it again.
Somebody told you to do that, right?
Yeah, actually, Brantley Gilbert was a big, because he's been through it. He's been, I think, 10 years sober now. And he was a big part of, he was like, man, I know you can go to rehab, and rehab's great. And I do think rehab would have helped me. He was like, but also, if you really want to quit, which I can tell you do, he was like, you just need to go through it, deal with it, go to the most embarrassing place you can do it at, so you'll always remember that, and, hopefully it sticks.
How did your parents respond? Were they?
Yeah, what was that like pulling up?
Man, it was weird because I didn't tell them at first. I waited till that night. My dad was outside. They have this outdoor fireplace. And he was sitting out there by it, and he was like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'll be okay. I was like, but Dad, I'm an alcoholic and I'm getting through this, you know, right here on the couch kind of thing. And it went a lot better than I thought. They both were super accepting, possibly because I'm their kid, that they were more accepting about it. But dude, it was just a lot of prayer, a lot of, man, I bet I drank a freaking swimming pool's worth of water over the next week, just laying there reading my Bible, trying to flush it out of my system. And yeah, dude, it was, I mean, dude, again, the worst experience of my life. Like, there was a period of that first week where I couldn't tell you if I slept or I was asleep the whole time. It was so like delirium or delirious, whatever it was. Night terrors were really bad. Just like the whole thing. It's not fun.
We had a guy on here 2 or 3 days ago who had a very similar story. And he was talking about when he made the decision and he was going through withdrawals, that like he was having hallucinations going through it, seeing stuff crawling on the walls.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's that where you like, I couldn't tell if I was dreaming it or if I was actually seeing it. It's crazy. It's not fun at all.
Before you made the decision and things were, you said, you know, you moved your girl in and y'all were going through all that and you were drunk on the couch, whatever. Mm-hmm. Was that tough for y'all together? Was she on you of like, could she tell like, this is a problem and you need to do something about it? Was there a conversation?
Yeah, no, like I think she kind of hinted at it and she could tell, but I was also really good at hiding it from her. I remember a little bit before I quit, she caught me. I would make my, in the mornings, my 5 a.m. routine. I would do vodka, orange juice. My thinking was that the orange juice would kind of mask the smell. And so this particular morning, I forgot to throw my solo cup away. And I was in my right, and she texted me and she goes, "Did you drink this morning?" And I responded back, "No, that must be from last night," which was a total lie. And that was where, and she knew I was lying, and that was where I think it became super evident to her that, you know, it was going way in the wrong direction. So,
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that's probably not the most fun thing to talk through, but I think there's a lot of people out there that could definitely benefit from hearing that story, especially from someone that, you know, is in the shoes that you are in now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think God puts us through everything that we go through so we can impact other people, you know, that are going through it. So, how
difficult for you is it to still be in this town that is still culturally centered around partying and having a good time, especially in the music industry? Do you ever struggle with that now?
Man, not really. I think as far as do I struggle with wanting to drink or wanting to party or like just
but either one, like struggle with wanting to do or even just being around it, you know?
Yeah, I think the wanting to drink thing, dude, it whipped me so bad. I don't think I'll ever want to drink again. Cause I relapsed in March of that year. So December was like when I quit. March, I relapsed one time and it was just as brutal almost. And so that was the time where, I guess it really stuck, you know, cause I haven't drank since then. And so after that, it's just been kind of like God had to make it super evident to me who my true friends were. And he did that in town. Because when I stopped drinking and I stopped going out, there was a lot of people that stopped hanging out with me, which is fine. But as far as like me wanting to drink, no, I don't really want to. If the temptation is there, they make non-alcoholic beer, which is a lifesaver in scenarios like that.
Yeah.
So I'll just drink one of those or, I mean, that's about it. I don't think it's really affected my career as much either. Surprisingly, a lot of people have been accepted it well in Nashville. But it definitely hurts in certain camps. Like they don't ask me to go out on the road and ride anymore, you know, but I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That one probably just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be. It's not the camp you need to be in.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's pretty awesome, though, that you are where you are now. What do you think? I mean, I'm sure there's a long list of answers, and like being sober is just the answer, but like, what is something that you noticed when you got out of that you were like, oh, this is so much better without it?
it sounds crazy, but life in general is better without it. At least for me, and I'm not saying alcohol's a sin or anything. I think people can drink and be fine and have a blast. But I just associated everything with drinking for so long that it wound up almost putting a damper on everything because alcohol is a depressant, and I was drinking so much of it.
Yeah.
So as far as like, dude, literally everything's gotten better. I mean, my relationship with my wife now is amazing with Jordan. And if I had continued on that path, it wouldn't have worked. My relationship with my kids is awesome. I think I write better. I think I'm more clear-headed. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a terrible answer, but really, I think everything's
that's a great
better,
answer.
You know, so
It's crazy, like knowing you now and knowing you then too, and looking back. We talked about breadcrumbs on here yesterday. We talked about breadcrumbs that God leaves behind us for us to see is kind of like evidence of what He was doing and His, fingerprints on stuff. And I think God is doing something in Nashville because we had Nick Walsh on here, and this was happening at the same time in his life.
yeah,
And at the same time, I necessarily wasn't like shaking in the night, but I was passed out in my truck, whether it was at BMI, in the BMI parking lot or in Ashland City.
yeah,
And I think from what I can tell now, having these conversations with everybody, is the Lord lets you go through things and He gives you community that you don't even know that you have while you're doing it. Because looking back, Nick was going through his stuff the same time as I was and you were. And randomly, like I'll never forget one day I was we were on a call, me and you, and we both just started talking about God one day. Like we probably didn't talk for 6 months or so, but then one day, like, oh, the Lord's doing this in your life. Well, He's doing it in mine too. And those conversations started happening more. And it wasn't like me and you, I don't think, ever sat down and was like, we're like, hey, did you quit drinking, or like, should we do this together or anything? Like we've always been boys, but it wasn't like, we called each other like, hey, like, the Lord's put this on my heart to tell you this. It just happened.
for sure.
I feel like, and I think there's been a lot of relationships in Nashville like that where people just wise up and you start to get healthier. You realize what you're putting in your body physically, whether it be the potato salad at Red Door at 2 a.m. and a pizza along with some vodka Red Bulls, or if it's just the Word of God every day. And it will change your life, man. And I'm going to let you say this better, but to the people that think Jesus isn't cool, Josh Phillips is sitting here telling you that he is, and he's one of the coolest guys that I know. And not just saying that, but you can just listen to him talk and hear his story and know, like, straight from the horse's mouth that it's real. It means something. There's so much joy and so much life and freedom in Jesus if you're willing to let Him walk you down the road. And sometimes those roads get real dark on the way to where He wants to take you. But, man, you sharing that is just so powerful, and I hope this falls on hungry hearts because you have such an awesome story, and we haven't even gotten to the redemption part yet, which I'm really excited to talk about.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to mention throughout that story, that, what you went through? You want to kind of kick the can down the road a little bit? And
Shoot, man, I think, there's an interesting thing of like, and I've told this before, and my wife knows this, but you've always known me. So I had a tendency to, anytime anybody got close to me, especially a girl, to just kind of push it away. And so on the way to that duck hunting trip, I had called Colt Prince, actually, and I told him that I was like, man, I think I'm going to break up with Jordan. It's just getting, like, too serious. And then literally, she calls me and tells me she's pregnant. And so I say all that to say, here we are, 7 years down the road. She's the woman of my dreams, the girl that I know I'm supposed to be with, that God made me for. And I think God sometimes goes, hey, dude, I know how stupid you are, so here's you a baby that's going to keep you around. And I'm not saying like it's always a baby or whatever it is. I just think God sometimes goes, you're so stupid that I'm just going to make you stay and figure it out. And that's definitely the case in my life. And yeah, dude, just a testament to, or just to touch on you talking about God is cool, man. Like, I think I grew up in a church where we were taught that Christians were weak, and you know, it wasn't weak, but it was kind of weakness. Like, we love everybody and like all of that. So it's like we talked about before this started, you know, like we're just supposed to love all the time, and Christianity's kind of weak and passive. And it's like, no, you read the Bible, it's not passive at all.
No.
Peter and Matthew were kind of, they were dudes. They were men's men. All the 12 disciples were.
Dude, bro,
Jesus
they tried to whip a sword out on somebody.
Yeah, he cut a dude's ear off, man. Yeah, like these dudes were us. They were fishermen, and I mean, dude, it's like it is cool. I think.
I think so.
It's the coolest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah.
I was laying in bed last night thinking about this same kind of thing, and I was like, man, getting drunk's fun, you know. There was a period in my life where I used to smoke a bunch of weed too. Yeah. Chasing women, it's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, man, having access to the creator of the universe, you can't top it.
No.
And that is exactly what Jesus is. And I think that the gospel can get diluted at times about like who Jesus is and why he was here. And it's not just a rule book, y'all. I mean, it gives you life to the fullest. And the Bible says, you know, he who has, he will continue to receive, and he who, you know, doesn't. I think what that scripture is talking about is your mindset and who you give things to, and what God will do with the things that you give him. And to say the least, I feel like, Josh, you are on the road to, you know, creating and receiving a life of abundance from what I can tell. I mean, you had
Appreciate it, man.
You got nominated for what last week or this week? The Song of the Year or something?
Yeah, Song of the Year, and
for 2 songs, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so sick.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. It's honestly nothing short of a blessing for sure. And I don't know, it's just surreal. I don't know anything else to say about it. It's wild.
Well, it's weird. It's a cool thing to see because, you know, we don't deserve anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Lord rewards us, and you know, we reap what we sow. So there's definitely a input and an output, and if the Lord's hand is involved, I think it's your testimony. It's safe to say, like, if you give it to him, there's no telling what can happen. And those songs that are nominated are just incredible works of art. And I listen to songs that you write that are other people singing. I can hear you all over them. So I think that's also another super cool characteristic of all of that stuff. But let's walk us through the Luke Cut and Dirt Cheap and like what all's happening with that, and we might even have you play a verse chorus or something.
Yeah, dude. The Luke Cut was, dude, it's crazy. I was making a joke to Jordan the other night. I was like, we just got to have more kids, because apparently every time I write a song about them, it gets cut and it does something. We're not having more kids. We've got 3, and that's enough. but yeah, I mean, the man he sees in me was it's about my little boy and obviously Luke's two little boys. And just like from the perspective of, I remember as a boy the man that I saw in my dad, you know, he was Superman, dude, you know. And that's very much the way that our sons look at us. Even though I'm not Superman, I'm a train wreck in tattoos that reads his Bible, you know. And it's, you know, it's just really special that Luke put that out, and it's had the response that it has, and obviously to be nominated is nuts. And then aside from that one, Dirt Cheap is, you've been to the house. Jordan wanted a farmhouse, and she wanted a new old farmhouse. They're new, but they look old. I could not afford a new old farmhouse, so we got an old farmhouse. And it was built in 1904, and the whole plan was to live in it and fix it up, which we did and are still kind of doing. We're finishing it up. But Dirt Cheap was just it's literally about that house, and the old man is the people that we bought it from. And then a lot of the content is obviously the little girl with the pink bow and her brown hair is Hunter. The dog out in the yard is our dog. All that stuff. And I did propose to Jordan in the front yard. So it was like that song was just really true to me. It goes back to the right what you know thing, you know. So I wrote that. I sent it to Luke. He did not respond.
And you, hang on, sorry not to interrupt you, but you wrote it by yourself.
I did.
And another note is that dog is not dead.
He's not. He's not dead. The whole cross thing came from when I was growing up. We would bury all our hunting dogs under this oak tree behind our house, and so that was where that came from. But he's kind of the stray that we rescued, if that makes sense. And so yeah, I sent it to Luke. He didn't respond. And then Jordan, my wife, said, "Why don't you send it to Cody Johnson?" I didn't know Cody. But thank God for my artist days, because I had written with a guy named Trent Willman, who is Cody's producer. And so I just sent it to him. And he called me about 5 minutes later, and he said, "Thanks for making Old Cowboy cry. We're cutting it next month." And so just God being God, though, dude. It's like that song, God let it get to where it is. Super funny. Luke and Cody had a conversation that Luke was telling me about. Once Cody cut it, Luke goes, "Man, I've heard that song." And then he goes back in his text and he was like, "Oh crap, Josh sent me that," and I never responded.
I was going to ask you if he ever.
Yeah, and so, but dude, again, God being God, like that has opened up. Me and Luke have always written, but it made me and Luke write more. God doing his thing. And it in turn, hopefully will get us, a song of the year.
You said you didn't have a relationship with Cody. Do y'all have one now?
We do, yeah.
What's that like?
I'm pretty sure that watch on your wrist is from Cody, ain't it?
Yeah, man, Cody's just such a good dude. And it's interesting because he's removed from Nashville, so he doesn't really understand how we, I guess, think about him in a sense. So, for instance, he made that post thanking the songwriter of Dirt Cheap and all that stuff, and I texted him afterwards, or when I seen it, and I said, "Dadgummit, dude, now I'm going to have to compete with every songwriter in Nashville to get a Cody cut." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Dude, you just won over every songwriter in Nashville." And he was like, "I don't understand." And I was like, "Buddy, people don't do that. It's not a thing. The songwriter doesn't get credit. I don't think, which is fine. We're okay with that." But I was like, "Dude, you just won everybody over," and that's just a testament to how good of a dude he is that he would even do that, because he didn't have to,
No.
So yeah,
man. I said this last time, but I saw Cody play Nissan Stadium during CMA Fest this year, and it was probably 10:30 at night, and obviously he had just cut Dirt Cheap, and everybody was going crazy about it, and so I knew he was going to play it in the stadium. And I had just got done telling my girlfriend at the time, Morgan, that it was going to be a while until I proposed to throw her off, because I was proposing the next week.
Yeah, dude.
And so she was all in a tizzy. Rightfully so. I don't think I handled that the best, but anyway, she's got a ring on her finger now.
That's right.
But during all that, I was like, man, I need to text Josh and FaceTime him while Cody plays this freaking song in a stadium.
Yeah.
And Josh was like, man, we're in the bed. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. I was like, man, get your butt up. Cody Johnson's playing a song and it's a solo right that in Nissan Stadium. You're gonna watch this. And so I FaceTimed him, and it was so cool, because nowadays with the iPhones, everybody, pulls their flashlights up, and
yeah,
I don't know how many people Nissan Stadium holds.
A lot. 60,
Probably,
something like that.
Yeah, I was about to say something in the thousands, obviously, but seeing that many flashlights and him sing that song, and just, man, it's cool for me to know you and have that relationship and watch hard work and creativity and obedience to the Lord come to fruition. And so just by being a bystander, it's encouraging. Like, it's cool. Like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm buddies with Josh Phillips, but we've been buddies for a long time.
Right.
But just seeing it from my perspective gives me so much hope.
Yeah.
I can attest to that too. You probably don't remember this either. Me, him, and Jason were driving down to a duck hunt last December. It was probably close to when the song came out, record came out or something, not long after it. And we put Jason in demo jail, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to listen to all these songs that we wrote or that we love that you've never heard. And I was in the back seat, and he started playing Dirt Cheap, and I was like, this song's so freaking good. And Jason's listening to it, and he's like, dude, this is so good. And Tyler's like, yeah, my buddy wrote this.
Yeah.
He's like, it was a solo ride. My buddy wrote it. He was I can attest to him being proud of you.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
It's inspiring to me too, honestly, because y'all know how it just doesn't happen, you know? And it's just like, it's just a God thing. Like, it's nothing short of that. This whole, everything it's done, everything it hopefully will do, that's all it is, you know? If I could give God some publishing, I would give him half of it. I don't know how, but I'd give him half of it.
Do you tell us about how, like, you said it just doesn't happen, to the people out there that don't know anything about Nashville or how you get a song cut or how you just meet Cody Johnson's producer or something like that. Explain to them how rare it is, first of all, to get an outside cut.
Yeah.
And then also on top of that, a solo right that's a ballad that's almost 4 minutes long.
Yeah, so, I mean, the 4-minute ballad thing is the big thing that never works because, I mean, I would say, like, the cruise era started a whole different side of country music where, you know, it was cruise, it was chilling it. They were 3 minutes and 15 seconds. They were, 80 to 90 BPMs, and it was fun, and it made you want to drink a beer and stick your hand out the window riding down the road. And I love those songs, but it started this whole era of, like, ballads aren't singles. They rarely get cut. Up-tempo, mid-tempo is the only way to go. So with that being said, I can't even think, maybe y'all can, I can't even think of the last ballad that was a single, honestly. Maybe the Combs song,
Beautiful Crazy.
Beautiful Crazy.
Even though,
like,
you're leaving.
Even though I'm leaving, yeah.
There's not many often.
Yeah, and so that part of it in itself is almost like not going to happen. And then the outside cut thing, the way Nashville works, as y'all know, is like every artist has like their crew. And so, for instance, like Wallen, all his boys that write really, really great Wallen songs is like John Byron and Charlie Handsome and Ernest and all those dudes. So like those guys are going to get most of the cuts on a Wallen record, or Gorley.
Blake Pendergrass.
Blake Pendergrass, yeah. There's so many, but those guys. And then like, Aldean is Kurt Tully, John Morgan, and we sneak one on every now and then, like that kind of thing. So to get a completely outside cut with somebody that you're not necessarily in their circle is, again, a 1 in a million thing. And so there were just a lot of things working against that song. I remember talking to Jordan and going, the song's cut, but it'll never be a single, babe. So just go ahead and prepare for that, because it's 4 minutes long. It talks about God. The chorus changes every single time, and a dog dies in it. Like, nobody's single in that song. And then I guess God, because it talked about God, he was like, let's make this thing work somehow. And it did.
It's so funny because, like, it's we get it because we're here, but to someone not listen, to someone not listening that doesn't know the town, all the things that you just said that is the reason that song wouldn't work is the exact thing that makes a country song.
Yeah.
Which I think is so stupidly ironic that it's like, it talks about God, it's about their dog dies. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what a country song is. But we're over here being like, yeah, the radio ain't playing that.
No, dude.
It's so backwards. But not right now in this moment, it's not. It's amazing.
It's a song that shouldn't have happened that should have. And it feels like a win in town for everybody. I think that's why I get so excited about the song itself and what it means, is just because it's like the old saying that says, you got to stand for something or you fall for anything. It's like when you sat down and wrote that song that day, you didn't care how long it was. You didn't care that a dog died in it. You didn't care, that you're going to talk about God, and you're going to write what you felt and what you were good at. And
Yeah.
it's got a backbone.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, that song was never intended to be pitched. My goal was I was going to put out a EP, a 5 or 6 song EP of all 100%ers, just songs that were true to me. And I didn't care if they were good or bad. It was just songs that I loved that I wanted to put out. And I'm still going to do that. That one just somehow got cut,
I want to talk about that too for a minute, because you didn't enjoy the artist thing, but obviously based on what you just said, you still enjoy recording music that you write and putting it out.
Yeah. I hate the touring. Like the radio kiss tale that it is. And I appreciate it so much for the guys that cut our songs, because I'm glad they do it. It's just not for me. I'm not a massive, God did not build me to be a super extrovert. And so, I didn't enjoy that thing. What I do enjoy, though, is I think we all do, is just singing songs that we love.
Right.
And not to be an artist, not to chase that thing. It's just like songs that never saw the light of day that if I was an artist would see the light of day. Right. Those are the songs I want to put out, and tell my story a little bit. So
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that like converting from a full-blown major label artist to just specifically a songwriter? Was that hard, or was it a decision you had peace with? You didn't really care what people thought, or that's my sorry not to interrupt you, but that's my biggest problem. I think is always worrying about what other people think when it's none of my business.
Yeah. I feel like I've always been pretty good at just like, this is what I'm going to do. If you want to do it with me, come on. If not, then I'm still going to do it. But also there's another God story within that. So when I was in between making that decision, I was just praying and praying and praying. God, do you want me to just be a songwriter, or do you want me to do the artist thing? And he refused to make it clear. Just would not. And so, keep in mind, I stopped doing the artist thing before I got sober. So I'm sitting out one night, and I got my vodka water in my Yeti cup, and I got a big old dip in outside, and I'm smoking a Marlboro Red. I don't even smoke. I was just that stressed out. And so my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, walks out, and she goes, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm pissed off at God. He won't tell me what he wants me to do. And she was like, well, what are you trying to figure out? And I was like, babe, I just don't, I've got Hunter, our little girl, in the house. We only had one kid at the time. And I'm missing her growing up because I'm gone Thursday through Sunday, and then I'm doing radio tours Sunday through Wednesday, and I'll get home for a little bit, and then I'll leave again. And I was like, I'm just not happy touring. At the end of the day, I would walk on stage on the Brantley tour, and he's a testament to this. I would walk on stage literally in front of 10 to 15,000 people and go, all right, let's get this done so I can get paid and go home. Like, I didn't care, and that's terrible. And the fun was just out of it. And so that night, I got mad at God, and I cussed at God, and I've since asked his forgiveness, but I was just really ill. Like, tell me what you want from me. And the next day, Zach Fearman, my drummer, calls me, and he goes, hey, can we get lunch? I said, yeah, dude, after my write, let's meet up. And so we meet at Doghouse, and he goes, man, he's crying while he's telling me this. And he said, man, I wanted to talk to you before I talk to the rest of the band. I'm going to finish out the remainder of the year, but I want to focus on my fiance who was about to get married. I want to focus on my wife and come off the road as a drummer. I said, okay, well, don't tell the band. I don't want it to put a wrench in our chemistry. Let's finish out the year. Dude, a week later, Tracy Good, my bass player, calls me, tells me the same story. They had not talked. A week later, my lead guitar player, Johnny Cotton, who had been with me since day one, calls me and tells me the same story. None of them had talked. And then it was like, dude, a week later, Bad Boy in Tough Town got cut. A Chris Young song got cut. Kane Brown put a song on hold. Combs put a song on. It was like all of these writer things that I was like, okay, God, you're making it pretty clear now. You know, all I had to do was yell at you.
Fair enough.
You were yelling at him, and he was just sitting there being like, keep yelling.
Yeah.
And just wait. If you would just shut up for 1 second and wait about 7 days.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, dude. And
It's crazy how that works.
It is, man.
I've been there. Maybe not in that same situation, but I've definitely been there of like, do you freaking hear me right now?
Yeah.
Do you hear me? And then he answers me, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
My bad. Sorry
Yeah,
about
you
that.
definitely heard me. My bad.
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, man. It's been a ride.
I would like to ask you what would you tell someone, maybe they're not in the same exact shoes you were, the alcohol thing, maybe it's something different.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gambling or drugs or porn or sex or fill in the blank.
Yeah.
That just feels like they can't get out of it.
Yeah.
What's something that you would tell that person right now?
Man, you can. I know it feels like you can't, but you can. And well, you can't if you just do it alone. If you're just trying to do it by yourself, it's going to be really hard to get out of. I think any kind of addiction, doing anything really, doing it alone is impossible almost. But if you incorporate God, you can do anything, and anything's possible. I think the only reason I got off of that couch and got out of the drinking that I was is because I was literally just reading the Bible all day, going through those withdrawals and praying. And at that point, it was me and God against the world. And I think that's how it has to be.
It has to.
You know? So, yeah. If you're wanting to quit whatever it is, bring God into it and put him at the center of it. And I promise you'll be okay.
Amen.
GodDog.
And don't be scared to call somebody.
Yeah.
Like getting help and talking about it is a massive part of it,
No
too.
doubt.
You know?
So what's the coach's name?
Coach Grooms.
Grooms?
Yep.
And he's going to be there tonight.
He is.
I might have to swing by.
Yeah. What time you play?
6:30.
Was it sold out?
I don't know. I haven't looked.
Might just
I'll
snag
text
some
Zach.
seats. Yeah.
Like, hey, man,
Yeah, y'all come on, dude. Come play a song.
you don't want me to do that.
I do want you to.
I don't even know what I'd play.
It's happening. You're coming and you're playing a song.
Okay.
You can play one too.
No. Jasper can play my song. You go up there for us in the name of GodDog.
Yeah. We'll play the one we haven't finished yet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll
course.
finish it on stage at the listening room.
I'm sure everyone in there would love that. I'm sure the people who own the listening room would really love
It's
that.
like a 300 way, right?
Yeah. We could do it. Last time I played, I had a double last month where I played the 6:30 and the 8 o'clock show. And all the industry people were at the 6:30 show, and then nobody was at the 8 o'clock show. And I was like, man, I'm going to try this song that I didn't even finish it. I didn't have a bridge. I just made one up on the spot.
Yeah, dude. And you kept it.
I don't know what I sang.
It's awesome.
Just in the spot, but sometimes things happen. But dude, thank you for coming on here, sharing your testimony, encouraging whoever's listening to this, and just being a good friend, because
Thank you, buddy.
you are. And there's you got three youngins and a million songs to write and a show to play tonight. So many responsibilities, but we do appreciate the fact that you took time out of your day, drove all the way down here, fought traffic just to talk about the Lord and songwriting with the GodDog boys. And yeah, it just means a lot to us.
Well, man, thank y'all, and thank y'all for what you stand for and what you're doing here. I think it's great. So
Appreciate it, my man.
absolutely.
Yes, sir. Jasper, you want to pray us out?
I can totally do that, dude. You want to play a verse chorus or something?
Oh yeah, let's do.
can.
You want to? Yeah, let's do that real quick.
You wanna-
gotta-
I'll pray over you singing, and then we'll throw you a verse chorus on there.
Yeah, dude.
We'll end it with that.
Done.
All right, God, thank you for letting us have an amazing hour, 10 minutes, and 3 seconds on this podcast. Again, like I said earlier, we thank you for allowing us the opportunity to get in this room on this Friday morning. And thank you for letting us live in a country where we can freely get together and talk about you and talk about how amazing you are and your love and your mercy and how good you've been for every single one of us in all aspects of our life. God, I pray that, if there is someone listening to this that's struggling with anything at all, that this conversation today from Josh can be a testimony to anyone that anything is possible as long as they walk through it with God. So we thank you for who you are and who you are in our lives. And I pray over Josh's voice and the guitar right now and these mics as we get a little verse chorus of whatever song we're about to play. And I pray over his set tonight at the listening room, that you'll be with him in that as well. It's in your holy name we pray, amen.
Well, y'all, this is dirt cheap. They came in thinking top dollar to that old cotton crop farmer. They knocked on his screen door. Said, Lord, what you need, boys? And they said, you know all the others went cashed out. We got the subdivision all mapped out. It'll sit right here on this land. You could leave town a rich man. He said, boys, whatever you're offering, well, it won't be enough. 'Cause I got a little girl that used to swing right there. I still see her pink bow and her brown hair. She's in a big city, but she still calls home. What's she gonna do if she comes back and we're gone? And over there under that white oak tree, beneath the cross is where my best buddy's buried. Lasted 13 hunting seasons running strong. Keep your money 'cause a man can't leave his dog. And over there's where I got down on one knee. And you can't buy that kind of dirt cheap. But one man smiled and he kind of looked away. The other said, before we go, I gotta know one thing. Between the droughts and the floods through all the years, what in the world got you through? How the hell did you get here? And he said, little girl that used to swing right there. I still see her pink bow and her brown hair. She's in a big city, but she still calls on. What's she gonna do if she comes back and we're gone? And over there under that white oak tree, beneath the cross where my best buddy's buried. All them hunting seasons freezing in a jumbo. Me and him, double barrel and a two-stroke. And that woman that said yes when I got down on one knee. You can't buy that kind of dirt cheap. No, it ain't something you fall into. It's something God gives you and you hold on to. Just like a little girl used to swing right there. I still see her pink bow in her brown hair. She's in a big city, but she still calls home. She's coming back next week, man, and it's been too long, yeah. And over there under that white oak tree, beside that cross where my best buddy's buried, lays a puppy posted up in the shade. That woman never could turn away astray. Well, I guess that's why she said yes, and I got down on one knee. Lord, as long as all that's here, why in the world would I ever leave? No, you can't buy that kind of dirt cheap.
GodDog.